Welcome to the next episode of Digital Supply Chain Institute Insights in Action. I have a great pleasure to have a conversation today with Vivek Ghelani, who is the Director of Research of Digital Supply Chain Institute. Welcome, Vivek.
Thank you, Marco.
So, Vivek, we know that along the way, and you can also afterwards share for how many years, but Digital Supply Chain Institute has been conducting new customer research. And what is great about it, I think, is that it started just analyzing the market and expectations about after the acceleration of e-commerce and digital customer approach, especially after COVID. But it has evolved in a cross-functional research in one way where data now can be correlated and actually where the new insights and inputs can come depending on the global changes of supply chain, which is a very unique position in that sense. So can you share a little bit about the Digital Supply Chain Institute research in new customer expectations, please?
Absolutely, Marco. And again, thanks for having me. So at Digital Supply Chain Institute, we conduct an annual survey around what customers are expecting and how their expectations are changing and evolving over the years. So we started the research back in 2020, right around the time of COVID, when consumer expectations were changed drastically for all the companies, when company doesn't know how to deliver the products, how to satisfy what customers are asking for, and doesn't have the pulse on what customers actually needed, right? So at the time we started this research. In this research, we especially do B2C and B2B research, right, where we survey consumers but also businesses. And we found that consumer expectation and business expectations are overlapping just because when you work from home, when you order something for your personal stuff, but you also do the same thing for your business, and the same kind of expectation overlaps. And so we found that that's a very fascinating how B2B companies need to make sure they are aware of this so they can align around this. So again, this research is very critical for all kind of businesses that want to stay ahead of the competition to make sure they have the pulse on the customers, and it's rapidly changing market, right? And it's not just customers because other factors also affect. Geopolitical factors will affect other. We have seen it right now as well in 2025, right? All the tariffs going on that will have an impact on the pricing, that will have an impact on what customer can afford, and that will have an impact on what customers' expectation will change, right? So companies need to know what that change will happen. So in 2024, end of 2024, we conducted an B2C survey with 1,643 respondents, and we build the survey from the insights on 2023, and we found that supply chain transparency, sustainability, and trust are at the forefront of consumer expectation. And we have seen it change from what we have seen from 2023. Um, but I'll stop there because we'll definitely dive deep into what customers asking into all of these areas as well.
Thank you very much, Vivek. What's significant is that, through what you shared, Digital Supply Chain Institute has created then a larger base of respondents across geographies, right, and across industries, which is very unique in that sense. And I would just like to build on where you stopped. Having in mind that it's already going on for 4 consecutive years, I think that the value of data is massive, but on the other side, there is an amplified value in correlation of data. So having in mind that the last research has been just finalized and published in by end of October 2024, is like, what are the most significant trends and insights from the latest Digital Supply Chain Institute new customer expectation research?
Definitely, Marcus. I think there were five overall trends that we have seen in 2024. I'll start with the first one, which is around visibility. So real-time supply chain visibility was at the top of the customers list, right? So 58% of the customer wanted real-time delivery tracking, and out of those, 38% prioritized transparency in raw material, 35% wants insight into manufacturing condition. So right now, consumers are more focused on ethical sourcing, fair wages, and carbon footprint of a company than ever before. But that's why I think company will also need to provide that information, right? So whenever customer buys it from their website or e-commerce website or even in stores, how you can provide that information at the right time so customer can actually buy the product and make a buying call on that, right? So that was at the top of the demand for customer. Second one is sustainability. So 71% of the respondents says sustainability is very important or critically important when they buy something, right? 57% of them prioritize recycled packaging. So if they buy something and there is a recyclable packaging, is 100% recyclable or 80% recyclable, that helps them um, make a buy call towards your product. 49% of them want reduce plastic waste, right? So how your company does that and how you provide that information to consumer, that's very important. The third one, I will say AI. Now, everybody's talking about AI. All the customers are using AI right now, not just for consumer prior purchase, but for all the other stuff that helps them um, being more efficiency, right? So 70% of the consumer use Gen AI in their purchasing power, right? So they are asking Gen AI, what are the best available product in the market in this industry, right? However, 43% of those want more clarity on how AI is using their data. So now it's companies' responsibility to make sure that when they provide these AI tools to customer, they also need to make sure they provide information on how they're using the data, how their privacy and security around the data is being held, right? So business must put a balance between AI-driven capabilities, but also in transparency and ethical AI use as well. The fourth one is about price and product availability. So we have seen price, and this is the top driver for any over the past 4 years. If you ask anybody, which is the most important factor for you to make any purchase, if you provide the cheapest product, they will buy it. So that's like uh, over the 4 years, the top driver, right? The next one is product availability. In COVID, we have seen that product availability was a major issue. Right now, it is not. So it has been going down, but it is still in the top five factor among product availability, which is 54% wants product be available, and if it's not, that doesn't work with customer or for that brand as well. And the last one is very interesting, which is as people are using more AI, they are also asking for a human touch. So human touch is making a comeback because when they call someone and they just hear an automated voice, customers are not liking it anymore. 47% of the consumers that we survey prefers to interact with a human customer, human representative, which is notable increase from 2023, which was around 25%. Right. So despite automation, AI, and all the tools available to consumer and on the business side as well, companies need to strike a balance between when it is appropriate to use AI to bring efficiency, but also when to provide a human wrap to help solve a customer's problem. So customer feels there is a connection. Otherwise, there is a lag between what customer is asking for and what system can do, and that does not strike a balance for customers anymore. So yeah, these are the trends I think overall. So top five trends that we have seen coming from 2024 research.
So it's super interesting to hear how the expectations are actually evolving, and as you explained briefly, it really impacts the businesses, and then it poses supply chain, let's say, challenges for the leaders to move forward. Now, having in mind all these valuable data and insights you shared, it's always about, on one side, you have things which we learn about. On the other side, the supply chain leaders are always challenged in, what's the next actionable step they can do. And, like, it's always great to talk about first things you can apply, which will create the results towards the expectations of the customer in order to stay competitive. So can you share your views in the actionable next steps you see?
No, definitely. I think most of the companies nowadays, and they have started doing it, but I think they have to do it heavily around invest more in real-time track and trace capability, right? to provide real-time delivery updates, right? Which most of the companies do it because most of the big logistic partners, they have that inbuilt capabilities that does it, right? But they also need to provide transparent sourcing information around raw materials, around the suppliers they use, either tier one or tier two. Even in our digital supply chain membership, we have a company called Craft that does it around supply chains, right? Around suppliers. So those kind of information, I think companies need to provide more of it. So they can either use AI or blockchain technology to make sure that they can get the information and provide right information to the customers around not just raw materials, but the suppliers, the process, where the product is routed for, where what is made, assembled, all those kind of information, right? It is available in different silos, but how you connect it and put it in a big package for the customer, that is where most of the companies struggle. There are many companies that have cracked this. So that's where I think most of the companies, because this will not go away, right? This is um, there were a few factors that COVID made it highlight, right? And these won't go away at all, even in next 10 years. Customer will always ask for track and trace of everything. So this is where it will become a fundamental ask from a customer. Second is prioritizing sustainable initiative, right? So shift to recyclable packaging, right? How you can do it in your manufacturing process, in your packaging process, how you can reduce waste around plastic as well, and move it to a fiber or a card box, right? How can you do that? So that's where most of the companies does that. And also the other thing which we didn't mention also came out of was reducing carbon footprint. Every company has a goal around reducing carbon footprint, which customers also agree to that they would like to see that. But many company doesn't have a plan to achieve that reducing carbon. So I think that's where company need to invest more in doing that. And the last one, and we talked about a lot, is balancing AI with human-centric service, right? Make sure as much as you invest, and many companies has invested a lot more in 2024 in AI, but not in a human service aspect of any process. So I think if you lose that touch, you are not providing a balance to it, and that's where companies will struggle in a long run. And the last one, I'll say, strengthen the trust and reliability in supply chain. So product availability, but also customer need to trust your process and the product, right? So you need to communicate properly. So communication also came up as one of the top important product. If you have the information but you don't provide it at the right time to the customer, and you tell it after 2 days, we have seen many customer doesn't like that at all. So that's where when there is a delay or any kind of change in the delivery or the product itself, effective communication with customer helps a lot in maintaining that customer's brand loyalty. I think that's where companies also need to make sure they invest more and have it very effective process around that.
Thank you, Vivek. It's very interesting how you correlated things with actually the expectations and the actions. And what I like about it is that on one side, when you talk about the visibility, it's not the question if you have it or not. It's actually if you don't have it, you start now and start small. If you have it, start building additional capacity and correlation of data, and seeing it in more advanced area. If we talk about the ESG, it's not only about that the regulator on one side is asking today, it's actually the awareness of the customer, the awareness of the investors, and then the overall approach towards the brand value. So again, there are no options to say you are not interested, but actually you need to build around it, and don't worry that somebody is far ahead, because you should always start immediately and start on following and introducing new approaches. And then for the AI, what I really find as something which brings an additional value, it's still not about just technology, is actually having the balance in between technology and human touch, which especially I think we lost in last several years with a very strong transition towards digital. But at the end of the day, we realized that the final touch and happy and loyal customers base is retained and built on also direct personal relationships. So it will be definitely very interesting, Vivek, to stay focused and learn more from the 2025 research and see what are the trends and what are the build-ups along the way, having in mind as well all the changes in geopolitical aspect, tariffs and everything what we expect to see in this year and how that will affect the new customer expectation, pricing, and then the availability as well. So thank you very much once again, and I look forward reconnecting with you so we build up on more data which we will have from this year.
No, no, definitely, Marco. And again, happy to share. We definitely continuing the research around new customer in 2025, but also more deep into AI as well. So we'll be happy to share more results around AI and new customers.
Thank you very much, Vivek. Thank you all for being with us. This was the Digital Supply Chain Insights in Action, focused on new customer expectations. Stay tuned. The new topics are coming.